Hello YouTube, this is Daniel Freeman with part 2 of my Blender Basics series. As a thank you to everyone who stuck around after the first video, I just wanted to give you a little preview of what you should be able to do once the series is over. So this is what you'll be working towards. I have a little scene set up, and if I click play here, let me show you. Now, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but this is the Basics series. So by the end of this, if you follow it all through, you should be able to at least make a scene like this within Blender. And that's a pretty good start. And of course I'll be making more advanced tutorials later on if you want to make something fancier. But thank you for sticking around, and I'll get right into part 2. Hello again YouTube. So this will be lesson 2, as I've already stated previously. And the goals for this lesson are to learn what edit and object mode are and how to use them, learn how to model in edit mode, and learn how to work with multiple objects effectively using object mode. And I also wanted to clarify these things and what I said last lesson about me thinking working alone is the best way to learn. What I meant by that was, I believe that doing things just on your own, just experimenting with software or with making things in any particular field is a really great way to learn something. For example, I learned 3D modeling for the most part just by sitting down and making things. They weren't good at first, but eventually I got better because I practiced doing it. So this is sort of the practice makes perfect philosophy, and that's why I have the things to make section with different projects that you can work on. So really, it's basically, if you can make these, then you should be good and you've mastered all of the things of that particular lesson and you're ready to move on. So it's kind of a gauge of where you are in the basic tutorial series. So I'm going to again walk you through how to make the first thing, which is the blades, and the rest you can make in your own. This little human here, if you want to try and make it, don't try and make a perfect human, because that's a very long process and that's probably not something you should be doing at this skill level, but just try to do something like what I have here, just a blocky semblance of a human. You can maybe make little arrows sticking into him for fun if you want to. This one's like a voodoo doll, but I just wanted to give that warning so you don't try making a fully detailed human and then wondering why it doesn't come out good, because that's very hard to do. Alright, so let's jump into Blender. I do say that a lot, but that's because we are quite literally just jumping into it. And I'm going to show you first how to switch between modes, and that's just the tab button. Very simple, that'll be on the command sheet. So you see I'm in object mode, now I'm in edit mode. You can see it looks slightly different. And you can also do that by going here. So if this screen ever looks very strange to you, for example, if it looks like this, maybe like that, yeah. If it starts looking like something like this, which is, it's strange, there's a red circle and suddenly the cube is white and you have no idea what's going on and the menus are weird and you're freaking out, just take a deep breath, go to this menu and change modes. Because yeah, that happens a lot to people that are starting out. There's a lot of things that make you panic when you're starting out Blender. So now that I have hopefully saved a few of you with that tip, let's go into edit mode by pressing tab. And edit mode is where the magic happens, where you're making things. So we're going to make these sword blades, and if you remember from last time about object manipulation, I'm going to select this and scale it, and I think I'm going to make it about 3 times bigger along the Z axis, so SZ3, and that seems like a good starter length for a very crude blade. Now this blade is not going to be a gorgeous blade. I'm not trying to make it fantastic. The thing is, I want this to be available to people of any skill level, and I don't feel like it's fair for me to make a really nice looking blade and then people that might just be starting out will get frustrated because they can't replicate that. I know that feeling for myself starting out in Blender, so this is going to be very blocky, it's going to be ugly, but it's going to be something that everyone can do, because I feel like, especially for a basic tutorial series, that's the way to go. And later on I'll do some more advanced things. Alright, so let me now teach you. Oh, what I did just then, let me undo that and show you, and also actually turn on screencast keys so you can see what buttons I'm pressing. There we go. Alright, So what I did there was, there are different selection modes. 3D models are made up of vertices, which are individual points in 3D space, and each vertice is interconnected by an edge, which is, yeah, it's just the filling between vertices. It's pretty straightforward. And then edges form to make up polygons. As you can see, we have, this has about 6 polygons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those are all just made up of edges, and then the edges are made up of vertices. So you can actually select all of these things by clicking here. This is vertice select. This one's edge select, and this one's face select. Remember where these buttons are, because you'll be using them extensively, because different projects require different selections at different times. So you'll want to know where the vertice, edge, and face select options are. I'm going to go ahead and just delete this face, which is what I was doing before, by clicking on it and pressing X and deleting faces. If you delete the vertices, as you can probably tell from my explanation, this vertice, all of these vertices are connected to these edges. So when you delete these vertices, suddenly there's no, the edge, the part of the thing that's connecting the edges is gone, and now this edge will disappear. I'll show you what happens. So now you're left with just this flat surface here. But if you delete the face, then that's not going to happen, and you're just going to have a hole on top. So I'm going to do that, and you will probably see why later. Now I'm going to select all of these vertices by pressing B and then dragging to make a box selection. Alternatively, I could have pressed C to do a circular selection, and by dragging my mouse wheel I can increase it in size or decrease it in size. And then I could have just, everything within the circle whenever I clicked would be selected. So I'm going to do it that way, and I'm going to extrude. Extruding is probably the single most important thing from this lesson that you'll need to remember, in my opinion, because that's how models are made. So when I extrude, what it does is, it just makes a new face, or several new faces, and using the vertices. I don't really know how to describe it, but you can see here, I don't really need to describe it, because you can see what it does. There we go. Could extrude multiple times. So yeah, that should basically show you what extrude does. So when I extrude, I'm going to right click, and when I right click, it snaps it back into place. So the extra polygons created by extruding are still there, but you can't see them because I've snapped all the vertices. All the extruded vertices are in the same position as the old vertices. But I did that so that I could now scale it, and there's a perfect 90-degree angle right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the handle. So I think I want the handle to be fairly long and thin. So I'm going to scale along the x-axis to make it a little bit thinner, and scale it along the y-axis to make it longer. And that should be pretty straightforward. So there you go. It's already kind of got a little bit of a handle shape, but it's totally flat. So I'm going to extrude, and you can also extrude along specific axes. So the z-axis is what I'm going for now, and I'll just drag it up until I have a thickness that I like. I think that looks okay for the purposes of this tutorial, so I will stop it there. Alright, now we have a very, very basic hilt and cross guard for the blade. Very simplistic, but again, anyone can make it, so you should not be too frustrated by this. Now I'm going to press extrude and scale. There you go, just to start making something for the blade. Now I want this to be as wide as the final blade is going to be, so that should be a good width for the blade. Now I'm going to make it thinner, because the blade obviously has to be thin. And as you can see, if I just scale it along the x-axis, which is right here, this red line, it starts to become thinner. And that should be a good thickness. Alright, let me extrude along the z-axis again, and start bringing out the blade. Starting to take shape. Starting to look a little bit more like a blade. Again, not the prettiest blade, but it is perfectly good for the purposes of this tutorial. Alright. I'm going to extrude along the z-axis and then scale to start making a little point here. So you can see there, extrude z, And what I'm going to do with these ones is I'm just going to merge them. When I merge them, it takes everything that's selected and puts it into as one vertice. So I'll press W to do that, and W brings up the specials menu, and on there you'll just want to select merge, and you can see you can also do merge with Alt M. Now I'm going to do at center. You can see I can also merge at cursor, so if I do that wherever my cursor is, that's where it's going to merge. So now they're all attached down there, but I don't want to do that. I want to merge it at the center. And there you have it. There's a little blade point and a very crude but functional sword. Actually, I'm going to drag this up a little more. There we go. That looks a bit better. So it's like a very blocky dagger. But again, this is to teach you how edit mode uses. You can make more interesting things like the voodoo doll / man stuck with arrows. Should you choose to do so, you can try and stretch what you can do. And you can also try and make different blades. Like you can try making a crude katana and a crude scimitar. Different things like that. You don't have to make an ugly little blocky dagger, but an ugly little blocky dagger is still okay. Alright, now that I've rambled on long enough, I'm going to show you why we have object mode. And I'm just going to do that by doing this. Just going to go crazy here. I'm just going to duplicate and duplicate. And then select all of these. Okay, and then duplicate again, and duplicate again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Well, okay, I think I have enough blades to kind of prove my point here. So, imagine a complex 3D scene, like something you see in Pixar. Say the movie Up, when the main characters are in the jungle, and there's tons of foliage and plants, and cliffs everywhere, and, you know, the house with the balloons. Imagine all of the vertices in that scene. Every object in a scene like that is made of vertices connected by edges, which make up polygons and are then textured. So that's just a bunch of vertices. Now imagine that every time you wanted to edit an individual object, say you didn't like the shape of a house's chimney, and you wanted to go in and you wanted to change that. What if you clicked on it, press tab, and suddenly there's just vertices all around you? I'm going to show you what that looks like by joining all of these, by pressing Alt J and pressing. That did not do what it was supposed to. 1 second. I think I know why. Let me just deselect these. Okay, Alt J should join it. Okay, well, what I was basically trying to show was, let me just show it with these. Okay, well, this is embarrassing. Anyways, what I was trying to show was I was trying to join all of these meshes together, and whenever you press tab, it would just be a sea of vertices. That's what object mode is for. If you want to edit an individual anything, really, you can put it into object mode and press tab, select it in object mode, press tab, go into edit mode, and edit it without having to deal with all of these other vertices. You can probably imagine if these were all successfully joined and I pressed tab, there would just be vertices everywhere, and I would click on this and suddenly I'd be moving a vertice from this blade, and then I'd rotate it and I wouldn't be able to see where the blade is. It would just be a mess. And in object mode you can also hide things, so if I wanted to focus on this blade, I could select it, press Ctrl I to invert, and then press H to hide. And now I have this blade all isolated by itself, and I can just focus on editing that without being distracted by anything else in the background. So object mode is really so that you can handle scenes with lots of different things in them. That's what it's useful for. And also for animation, which I'm going to show later. Now I'm just going to press Alt H to unhide, and again these will be in the command sheet, H and Alt H. So there you go. Now you know why we have object mode, and you know about edit mode, and very, very basic modeling. So let me just delete these because I don't want all of these blades clogging up my scene. I'm just going to leave 2 of them, and then can make a cool little, well, just a basic fighting scene. Let's have some fun with this. I think I'm gonna make these blades being crossed. So I'm just rotating and dragging. This is a good way to reinforce your skills from lesson 1, by the way, is to just mess around with these individual blades once you've made one. And let's see, let's have these ones being crossed like that. That looks kind of cool. Alright. Now I'm going to have this one slashing these two blades, but these ones blocking it. And I wish I had a character model, but again, I want this to be as simple as possible, so I'm not going to use any character models or make anything fancy. I'm just going to show you the bare bones basics so that you know what to do. Rotate, grab. Let's do this. Alright, and there you go. I've dragged it into position, and now we have this blade is slashing. We have an invisible warrior here slashing another invisible warrior who's then crossing his daggers to block it. So there you go. We've now successfully used edit mode to model an object, and we've now successfully used object mode to move individual objects without having a bunch of clutter in our scene. Let me just delete this. I don't need that. Alright, so there you go. That's how to make the crossed blades. It's quite simple, quite fun, and I'm going to show you how to do more advanced modeling in the next tutorial, where we'll be making fish based off of real-life fishes. And that's going to be the start of what I showed you in the beginning of this video, the preview of what you'll be able to do once you're done with this tutorial. Well, thank you very much for watching, and I will leave a commands list link in the description so you can look at that. I hope that you enjoyed this and found it informative and helpful. And until next time, this is Daniel Freeman signing off.